Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWAS, doing NBA Saturday here. I'm just going to go through the first two games. It's 2 in the morning right now. I don't have time to make a video on the whole slate. A couple of the games are kind of shitty anyway. The first two I think are the most interesting. Actually, the Cleveland-Minnesota game I'm not going to be able to get to. That's an interesting one also. So yeah, going to go through the first two games. Had a good one as far as Friday night. I went 4-2. Well, 4-3 if you count my Nets money line sprinkle. But 4-2, my biggest bet was Hornets Bulls over. That one cashed easily. I lost my Heat bet, but I got the best of the number. I got the plus 125, and that's just a good sign. I feel good about it, even though the bet lost and it wasn't the correct side. That's a good sign. That's definitely what you want to see in terms of seeing the market. You want to make sure you're seeing the market correctly. So I like the Heat. I got the number I wanted. Lost the bet. But as a whole, 3 winning days in a row. You'll love to see it. Let's keep the positivity going into this weekend. NBA Saturday, going to go through 2 games. Let's do it. I mean, is Cooper Rush worth 2.5 points? I would hope Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Kansas at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly. Dog walking. I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get the sauce. First up is Phoenix on the road in Detroit. The Pistons are catching 1.5 points at home. Total sitting at 227.5. Projected score, Detroit 112.8, Phoenix 107.98, so slightly into Detroit there. In the last 10 games, the Suns are 14th in offensive rating, 17th in defensive rating, 30th in strength of schedule, and that's honestly the story here. Well, actually, the story is Nick Richards. We'll talk about that in a second. The Suns' schedule recently, bit of a cakewalk. They're winning some basketball games, not trying to take credit away from the Suns. They've had a bit of a fortunate stretch of schedule, I'll say that. Pistons last 10 games, they're 16th in offensive rating, 6th in defensive rating, and that's kind of been the story with the Pistons. Since Jaden Ivey got injured, they are playing some defense, man. Guys like Asar Thompson are seeing more minutes. Guys like Tobias Harris are seeing more minutes. So the Pistons are playing some great defense right now, 6th in defensive rating in the last 10 games. They're also 24th in strength of schedule, though. Let's take a look at the injury report for the Suns. It looks like no Bradley Beal, no Nurkic, but the story here, Nick Richards set to make his Phoenix Suns debut. And the question is, his first game with the team, does he immediately solve their rebounding problems? Because the Suns have a gaping hole in their team. Rebounding. They're probably the worst rebounding team in the NBA right now. You can check this out. In the last 10 games, the Suns are 28th in offensive rebounding rate, 29th in defensive rebounding rate, and that's in the last 10 games. We just pointed out the Suns have played the easiest schedule in the NBA in the last 10 games. So the Suns are getting dominated on the glass by bad basketball teams. So you throw Nick Richards out there. He's a great rebounder. Can he make an immediate impact? It's a tough call. And this is a tough matchup on the road in Detroit because, like I said, without Jaden Ivey, the defense is up, but also the rebounding is up because you got Tobias Harris seeing more minutes. You got Asar Thompson seeing more minutes, both significantly better rebounders than Jaden Ivey is. In the last 10 games, the Pistons are 4th in defensive rebounding rate, 6th in offensive rebounding rate. So if we're going by the last 10 games, we're talking about a top 10, maybe even a top 5 rebounding team here in the Pistons against the worst rebounding team in the NBA. That's why it's huge. We need to know, does Nick Richards make an immediate impact on the boards here for Phoenix? In terms of the matchup, the Suns have been playing some pretty good defense in transition, which should come in handy. Pistons like to get out in the fast break. Pistons also run a lot of pick and rolls, though, which plays into the weakness of the Suns' defense. They're 22nd in points per game allowed against the pick and roll. So it should be a favorable matchup for Cade Cunningham. For those of you that bet props, he obviously utilizes the pick and roll a lot. So for those of you looking to bet props, it should be a favorable matchup for Cade Cunningham. Now, like I said before, the Suns have been winning games. They're 5-2 in their last 7, just 2-4-1 against the spread. And like I said before, look at the opponents. Philadelphia, they're terrible. The Hornets, the Hawks twice. Utah, the Hornets twice too. You got the Hawks twice in there. You got the Hornets twice in there. You got Utah. You got the Wizards and the Sixers. That's a bad batch of basketball teams right there. So congrats to the Suns for going 5-2 in their last 7. Consider the source, man. Consider who they've played. They played some bad teams. Now, Detroit on the season is just 6-5-1 against the spread as home underdogs, 4-8 straight up. Nothing really there, but I mentioned the way this team's been playing without Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey is still not back, by the way. He's still out. Other than that, the Pistons are going to be at full strength. And like I said, I mean, the last 13 games, the Pistons are 10-3 straight up, 8-5 against the spread. Since Ivey got injured 8 games ago, they're 4-4 against the spread, 6-2 straight up. So the Pistons are playing some basketball, and I talked about this before. Since Jaden Ivey got hurt, you got a defensive rating at 109. You got a rebounding rate almost up at 53%. Detroit is dominating the glass right now, so if Nick Richards comes in and is just a hero and the Suns are able to compete in the rebounding department, yeah, Phoenix probably wins this game, and I understand the line. But if Nick Richards needs some time to adjust to the new rotation, I mean, Pistons should win the rebounding battle decisively, which means how do you not take the +1.5? I lean Detroit here. Haven't bet this one yet. I could say I'll probably end up on the Pistons before tip-off. The uncertainty of Nick Richards is making this one tough to bet, because you remember early in the season on the Hornets, Mark Williams was hurt. Nick Richards was in there, and for the first 6 or 7 games, the Hornets were rebounding the shit out of the ball, and then Nick Richards got hurt as well, and the Hornets rebounding just fell off a cliff. So this dude is most definitely a legitimate rebounder. It's just a matter of whether or not you think he can make an immediate impact. Personally, if I had to make a prediction, I'd lean towards no. Give me the Pistons +1.5. Not sure if I actually bet this one. Let's move on to the next one. We got Sixers on the road at Indiana. I did bet this game. Pacers are laying 8 pretty much across the board, total at 223 pretty much across the board. I do see a couple 222.5s out there. Projected score 112.5 to 103.7 in favor of Indiana. In the last 10 games, if you've been following the NBA, you know the Pacers are playing some basketball right now. In their last 10 games, 7th in offensive rating, 3rd in defensive rating. And what makes it even more impressive, look at the strength of schedule. 2nd in the last 10 games. So the Pistons are putting up elite numbers on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, and they're doing it against one of the strongest schedules in the NBA. Meanwhile, Philadelphia, 17th in offensive rating in their last 10, 24th in defensive rating in their last 10, against the 25th strongest schedule. So the Pacers are playing significantly better basketball against a significantly stronger schedule in the last 10 games. I mean, look at the difference in results here. In the last 8 games, the Pacers are 7-1 straight up, 7-1 against the spread. The Sixers are 1-7 against the spread, 2-6 straight up. Although I do want to give a shout out to Philadelphia. Sixers +7 was my top bet against the Knicks, and they barely covered that in overtime, but they did come through for me. And then you add on injury situations for both these teams, and it's like, how do we not just bet Indiana here? Philadelphia, still no Embiid. He's going to be reevaluated in 7 to 10 days, I believe they announced. No Caleb Martin. No McCain. He's going to be out for a while. No Kyle Lowry. Yabusele's questionable. Drummond's questionable. Paul George is questionable. I mean, this Sixers team is just a mess right now, injury-wise. Meanwhile, the Pacers are going to be at full strength pretty much for the first time all year. Neesmith is finally back. He came back last game. Halliburton not on the injury report. He's been on and off. Nembhard is healthy. This Pacers team is at full strength right now. Mathurin is going to be rested. He was suspended in the last game. So, I mean, everything is pointing towards Indiana here. Not to mention, Philadelphia has been a terrible team to bet in this spot. On the season, they're 3-7-1 against the spread as road underdogs, 2-9 straight up. So why would I jump in front of this Pacers train right now? The answer is I'm not. I did grab a 7.5. So I'm on Indiana -7.5. I did bet this one. Yeah, I'm out of time. Like I said, it's after 2 a.m. now. We will go through all these games on the live show. Me and Steve from Just About Outside. Here's the order for the live stream. 10:30 a.m. we're going to do college basketball. Then we're doing NFL. And then we're doing NBA last. So if you're able to make it, we'd love to see in the comments. If you want to go see all the bets I currently have open, head over to KyleKirms.com and click on Open Bets. You'll see mine as well as everyone else on the staff here. Let's have ourselves a good one. Let's have a great weekend. Please remember to bet responsibly. Hit me up in the Discord if you need me.